The life you've been living just ended. Not tomorrow. Not gradually. It's already over. Everything you constructed, every role you mastered, every version of yourself you polished and presented to the world has reached its expiration date. You're watching this because some part of you already knows this truth. The evidence isn't in what's falling apart around you. The evidence is in how you feel inside what appears intact. This isn't collapse. This is upgrade. Your consciousness has been recalibrating without asking permission from your logical mind. Think of it like outgrowing clothes. The fabric didn't deteriorate. You simply expanded beyond what it was designed to hold. Your awareness has stretched past the boundaries of the identity that brought you this far, and now that identity is suffocating you. You've been walking through your days feeling like you're watching yourself from outside, going through motions that once felt natural but now feel like performance, saying words that used to mean something but now taste hollow in your mouth, participating in a life that looks exactly like yours from the outside but feels completely foreign on the inside. This disconnection isn't mental illness. This is your energetic body migrating to new coordinates while your physical form finishes its obligations in the old location. Everything around you appears unchanged. Same home, same routines, same people occupying the same spaces in your orbit. But internally you're experiencing a profound alienation from all of it. You're mourning someone who's still breathing. That someone is the version of you that can't exist where you're headed. The grief is real because the death is real, but what you need to understand is that this death is the most natural thing that could be happening to you right now. Your system started rejecting your life before you consciously noticed. The small compromises you made to maintain peace suddenly felt unbearable. The relationships built on outdated versions of you started creating friction you couldn't ignore. The lies you told yourself to stay comfortable stopped working. Your entire being began rejecting these elements like an immune system attacking foreign tissue. This rejection isn't dysfunction. This is your consciousness protecting you from staying in a container that can't hold what you're becoming. Here's how to understand what's actually occurring. Your old life operated on a certain frequency. For years, maybe decades, you were perfectly tuned to receive that signal. You knew every song, every rhythm, every pattern of static. It was home. Then something shifted in your internal receiver. Your consciousness started vibrating at a completely different frequency. Now when you try to tune into your old life, all you get is noise. Faint echoes of what used to define you, distorted beyond recognition. The old signal didn't disappear. You simply evolved past the capacity to receive it. Your entire reality structure is dissolving because you're no longer the antenna designed to pick it up. This new frequency you're emitting is literally breaking down old structures the way sound waves shatter glass at certain pitches. Not as an attack, as a natural consequence of your expansion. The terror comes from hearing that static and believing the music is gone forever. The anxiety comes from desperately trying to force yourself back to a frequency that can't sustain your new consciousness anymore. It won't work. It can't work. Relief arrives when you realize you don't need to fix the static. You need to fully tune into the new station that's already broadcasting. You're not lost in noise. You're in the sacred space between signals, and that space is where transformation actually happens. Look at how nature handles this exact process. The caterpillar doesn't gently shift into a butterfly. Inside the chrysalis, something brutal and necessary occurs. The caterpillar releases enzymes that dissolve its own body from the inside out. Muscles liquefy, organs break down, the entire structure reduces to soup. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is documented biology. The caterpillar must become formless protein before it can reorganize into wings. There's no butterfly without the soup phase. The dissolution isn't preparation for transformation. The dissolution is the transformation. You're in the soup phase right now. The panic, the confusion, the sense that your personality is dissolving into unrecognizable chaos. This isn't evidence of failure. This is evidence that the process is working exactly as designed. Your identity is being systematically broken down by your own higher intelligence, because the form you've been inhabiting can no longer contain the frequency you're becoming. You're not randomly falling apart. You're being methodically liquefied so something more complex can be built from your essence. This is why everything seems to be collapsing simultaneously. Your consciousness initiated a synchronized breakdown. The job that suddenly feels meaningless, the relationship that suddenly feels forced, the beliefs that suddenly feel hollow, the habits that suddenly feel suffocating, they're all parts of the old structure. They're all being dissolved by the same process. When you feel that desperate urge to call your ex, to apply for the same type of job you just left, to cling to people who no longer resonate with you, you're trying to rebuild a caterpillar leg in the middle of becoming a butterfly. You're fighting your own evolutionary programming. Resistance here creates all your suffering. Every time you fight the dissolution, you're essentially telling your soul you prefer the limitations of what you were to the terrifying potential of what you're becoming. Your soul will override this fear eventually. The enzymes keep working whether you cooperate or not. Your only choice is whether you experience this as a victim being torn apart or as a conscious participant in your own sacred reconstruction. The question isn't how do I save my old life? That's the caterpillar's question, and the caterpillar is already dying. The real question is how do I surrender to the intelligence orchestrating this death so my rebirth can be clean and complete? This isn't giving up. This is giving over. This is trusting that the force dissolving you is the same force that will reorganize you into something that can actually fly. If you're finding value in what we're exploring here, and if you want to go deeper into this process with a community that understands what you're going through, I'd genuinely appreciate it if you'd subscribe. We're creating space for people actively navigating this dissolution phase, and your subscription helps us reach others who need to hear they're not losing their mind, they're transforming. Please take a moment and subscribe. Now let's talk about what's actually dying and what you really are. Here's the source of your terror. You believe you are the identity that's dissolving. You've merged so completely with the character you've been playing that its death feels like your annihilation. This is the fundamental illusion. You think you are the caterpillar turning to soup, so you panic. But you're not the caterpillar. You're not even the soup. You're the chrysalis itself. You're the intelligent container holding both death and birth simultaneously. Your consciousness isn't dissolving. Your consciousness is the field of awareness expanding so dramatically that the old identity literally can't contain it anymore. That identity had to liquefy. It had to deconstruct back into pure potential, so something far more authentic could be assembled from the raw materials. This changes everything instantly. You're not in danger. The ego construct, the collection of habits and traumas and beliefs you've been calling me, that's what's being dismantled. But the real you, the silent awareness that's been observing this entire drama unfold, that's eternally safe. The real you is listening to these words right now. The real you is feeling that subtle click of recognition somewhere deep in your chest. The real you has been narrating this entire transition with a strange mixture of fear and curiosity, maybe even dark humor. You're not the actor being written out of the script. You're the director watching a character complete their arc to make space for a new protagonist. You're not the sinking ship. You're the ocean. Your role shifts completely once you see this. You're not the desperate survivor trying to patch holes in a vessel programmed to sink. That's fighting your own evolution. You become the aware witness, the sacred observer documenting your own metamorphosis. Your practice becomes radical observation. Instead of trying to fix the grief, you witness it. You document it. You ask, what is this feeling teaching me? What part of the old identity is this emotion dissolving? When fear of the void rises, you don't run. You sit with it. You become a scientist of your own interior, studying the texture of emptiness, recognizing it as fertile ground rather than threat. You're no longer a victim of a life falling apart. You're the documentarian of a soul coming together. Your identification with form weakens while your identification with formlessness strengthens. You begin sensing the unchanging consciousness that exists behind your personality's mask. As that identification shifts, terror transforms into awe. You're watching divine intelligence perform sacred demolition and reconstruction inside your own being. You have a front row seat to a holy process. Your identity is transforming not into the new version of you yet, but into the awareness that's birthing the new you. You're no longer a person whose life is collapsing. You're a mortal consciousness intentionally composting one identity to fertilize soil for the next. The pain, the loss, the confusion, these aren't punishment. They're nutrients. They're the rich organic material of your past being broken down to provide raw energy for your future self. Your higher intelligence has been leaving breadcrumbs everywhere, proving this death is happening. You've been seeing them for weeks or months, but misinterpreting them as problems. They're not problems. They're proof. 3 specific markers confirm you're in the chrysalis right now. First, the phantom existence. You're still performing all the functions of your old identity. You go to work, participate in relationships, follow routines. From outside, nothing changed. But inside you feel like an imposter. Like you're watching a film of your life where you're no longer the main character, just a ghost in the audience. This isn't dissociation. This is the direct experience of your consciousness already existing partially outside the old timeline. Your awareness has begun migrating to new frequency, but your physical body still has contractual obligations to finish in the old reality. So you show up, say the lines, hit your marks, but feel nothing. There's sterile distance, psychic glass between you and events you're participating in. You're haunting your own existence. You might feel guilty, as if you're faking it. You are. You're faking being the person you used to be, because that person is no longer home. Second, immunity to old triggers. Think about what used to completely derail you. Critical emails, passive-aggressive comments, unexpected problems. These were tripwires hard-coded into your old operating system, designed to provoke specific emotional reactions. Fear, anger, shame, panic. But lately something shifted. The trigger still happens, but the expected internal explosion never comes. Just a dull thud instead of detonation. You observe the stimulus and recognize intellectually that old me would be spiraling right now, but the emotional charge is gone. The wire has been cut. You've gone emotionally flat in areas that used to be electric with reactivity. Your first thought might be, am I depressed? Am I just numb? No. Your nervous system is becoming electromagnetically incompatible with old stimuli. Your frequency shifted so dramatically that old triggers can't find receptor sites to land on anymore. They can't plug into you because you're no longer the person programmed to react to them. That person is dying. This immunity isn't suppression. This is evolution. Third, the strange mourning. You find yourself grieving, but can't identify what you lost. Moments when you're alone, driving, before sleep, when waves of profound sadness wash over you. Deep, ancient, impersonal grief. Nothing happened that day to cause it. Your life on paper might even be stable, yet you feel the ache of tremendous loss. You're not losing your mind. Your soul is mourning the death of the identity you're leaving behind. This is necessary ritual. That old self, for all its limitations and pain, was your companion. The vehicle that carried you through a chapter of reality. It did its best with the programming it had. Now its service is complete. The sadness is a funeral. The honorable release of a character that can't exist in the reality you're entering. Mourning this self isn't wanting it back. It's thanking it for service before letting it dissolve back into the light of your consciousness. These 3 markers aren't symptoms to fix. They're coordinates on the map of your becoming. Each one a signal confirming you're in the chrysalis exactly on schedule. Now we move from understanding to practice. 3 protocols for conscious navigation. First, the non-resuscitation agreement. You make a binding pact with yourself right now. You will not attempt to revive what's dying. You will not call back the old friend, fix the old relationship, reclaim the old job. When that familiar panic hits, that desperate urge to get back to normal, you recognize it as fear reflex. The ego's last attempt to reanimate a corpse. Your only job is breathing through it. Witness the impulse, acknowledge the fear, let it pass without action. You don't perform CPR on a flatline timeline. You let the dead stay dead. This isn't cruelty. This is the highest compassion for who you're becoming. Second, the identity inventory. For 7 days, document every moment you catch yourself defining yourself by your past. Every time the words "I am" followed by an old descriptor cross your mind. I am anxious. I am bad with money. I am someone who always gets hurt. Every time you begin a sentence with "I always" or "I never," write it down. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Document it like a scientist observing final signals from a decommissioned satellite. These are ghosts of old code. Bringing them into awareness completes their dissolution. Awareness itself is the solvent. You don't struggle against old identities. You simply see them. The seeing is the ending. Third, void tolerance practice. For 10 minutes daily, practice sitting in emptiness without rushing to fill it. Set a timer. Sit in silence. Your mind will scream for distraction, for plans, goals, problems to solve, new identities to build. It will want to fill the void you've carefully created. Your practice is gently declining the invitation. You're in the soup phase. The new you can't crystallize if you keep agitating the water by forcing the old you back into form. You must learn tolerating the profound discomfort of being nothing for a while. This void isn't failure. This is the womb of your next reality. Your ability to exist peacefully in pure potential determines the magnitude of the rebirth that follows. This is how you navigate daily life during identity death. You still show up. You work, pay bills, fulfill obligations, but you don't reinvest your identity in any of it. You're an actor finishing a contract. You say lines, hit marks, perform the role with excellence, but you know in your core it's not you. You're simply closing loops, fulfilling agreements. The real you is the silent witness holding space for the next role to be revealed. Your body is present in the old world, but your consciousness is already building the new one. Before we close, I want to ask something of you. If this is landing, if you're recognizing yourself in this process, please subscribe to the channel. This work goes deeper in upcoming content, and the people who stay connected are the ones who actually complete the transformation instead of getting stuck halfway. Please take a moment and subscribe. Thank you for being here. You now understand the death. You recognize its markers as coordinates rather than catastrophes. You've been given tools to navigate dissolution consciously. You've learned to steward the void, to honor emptiness as fertile ground of pure potential. You've moved from terror of collapse to sacred witnessing of planned demolition. You were the caterpillar, then the soup, and now you stand as the chrysalis. The intelligent container holding both memory of death and promise of birth. You are the sacred space between worlds. Your old life didn't fall apart. It was systematically deconstructed by an intelligence that loves you enough to dismantle who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. This was profound grace disguised as chaos. You didn't fail. You're graduating. The death is complete. Now we build the resurrection.